Hello, ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all identities, sexualities, and more, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. Today's review is Doctor Who, the TV movie. Yeah, this never really got quite a title to it, so TV movie is what we have, and I've got to say, I've always thought of many different titles they could have given it, but the TV movie, okay, I get it. So without further ado, let's jump right into the review. And before we get into the context of the TV movie, I think it's about time that I quickly address an audio that has recently come out that really well links into this story. The audio is called The Last Day, and The Last Day follows the Doctor and his friends as his friends fight an evil version of himself who has created a universe in his image. The story then ends and crosses over into the TV movie by pointing out that the Master has been sent to Skaro and killed, and this incarnation of the Master that has been sent there and killed has left in his will for the Doctor to collect his remains. Now, as the TV movie starts, you first are given a sense of foreboding as the Doctor sits silently with his record player playing in his TARDIS as he has the Master's remains left on a countertop. But little to him does he know that the remains are still very alive and that the Master isn't as dead as he may seem. Ironically to him, the Doctor is sitting reading the book The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, someone who, frankly, his ideas came from being on board the Doctor's TARDIS. But that's another story. So the Doctor is trying to head back to Gallifrey with the Master's remains, but all of a sudden, the Master escapes his locked casket and begins to attack the TARDIS. The Seventh Doctor does everything in his power to try and avert what's happening with the TARDIS, but later on, he finds himself on Earth and ends up getting gunned down in a back street alley by a bunch of youngsters with semi-automatics. The Doctor falls to the floor and the group of lads run away. But Lee, a young Chinese boy in New York, calls the ambulance in hope of saving the Doctor's life. But sadly for him, the Doctor doesn't make it, and soon regenerates into his next incarnation. Elsewhere, the Master's essence, like snake being, has escaped its containment and has looked for a new body to obtain. It takes the medic from the ambulance that Lee had previously been in that evening and begins to inhabit his body. When it comes back to the hospital as the Master, they ask for where the stranger's things are. Soon Lee gets caught up in it, as the Master begins to manipulate Lee into believing that the Doctor has stolen his lives and is trying to cause the Master pain and kill him. But later on, Lee learns that this isn't the truth, and in fact, it is the Master who is trying to steal the Doctor's lives as the Doctor fights for survival in an uncharted territory, stuck and chained to the cloister bells. The Doctor, who is played by the magnificent Mr. Paul McGann, is finding himself confused throughout the story. He doesn't know quite who he is at first, and he even reenacts the scene from Frankenstein and believes himself to be the monster. Paul McGann's performance in this, next to none, and I love how his chemistry with Eric Roberts' Master is very maniacal, and I love the way it bounces back and forth between the pair of them. But yeah, so the Master begins to try and take the Doctor's lives. But before this, the Doctor goes to the only person he can remember in his mind that he must have known, and that being Grace Holloway. Grace is very confused by who the Doctor is and why he keeps following her. She believes him to be a bit of a stalker, a bit of an obsessive, and she also believes that he's only been following her because he is deranged. The Doctor soon makes Grace come to fruition, when he proves that the Master is trying to destroy the world. He's already breaking away the fabrics of existence, and at midnight, everything will change. The Doctor, Grace, and Lee manage to stop the Master just in time before midnight, but soon they learn that that's not the only problem. The Doctor has to take the time machine back in time and fix everything that's happened just a second before it did. Time reverses and everything is settled. The only thing, personally, I wasn't a fan of in this story is when the Doctor has a joke at a gala. I'm half human on my mother's side. That line to me still, I mean, I see the point of view. I see it makes slight sense. But as the show's evolved, I like that we've now gone in this direction to we don't know who the Doctor is again, and that we've moved away from this. The Doctor rewards Lee for being honest and accepting the fact that it's not Lee's fault, the fact that the Master tried to manipulate him into taking the Doctor's lives. Lee goes off and has a very good year, and as a last fruitful gesture, the Doctor kisses Grace Holloway, and this, ladies and gents, is where the kissing came into Doctor Who, the very first. But yeah, so the Doctor kisses Grace and then disappears off out into the universe in his magical blue box. So Doctor Who, the TV movie, what did I think about it as a whole, as a general as a story? Well, it's a very strong story. That I'll give it that for a start. The way that things cross over and the way that it kind of makes you realize how one bad decision can cause a whole problem going along is magnificent. But as I've stated before, I'm not very fond of the whole human on my mother's side. But regardless of that, after now of listening to a ton of Big Finish audios which follow on from the TV movie on what the Eighth Doctor had done afterwards, I do feel as though I'm more satisfied with the story now, because I know that it goes on to become the R101 with Charlotte Pollard, and then meeting Keris in a whole other universe and bumping back into Rassilon. Then Mary, Tamsin, Lucy Miller, and many more names I could. Oh, Molly O'Sullivan, who I could name. Cass, who has alternate adventures to the events of this story. But I do like the direction that this did inspire, and I'm very glad that this episode is still there, because I feel like, minus all the little credence with the story and all the little things that could have been better, I do feel like Paul McGann and Eric Masters and the one that plays Grace Holloway and the one that plays Lee, they all brought the story together, even at the time when people weren't certain whether Doctor Who would ever come back. And for that reason, I'm going to give the TV movie a solid 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, stay amazing, stay beautiful, goodbye.